well, not last interview, but in the interview that I saw of you, they asked you how, what would you want people to take away from your life? And you said purpose over profit. How did you maintain that mantra during your career? And what overall does that mean?
Um, I wanna find I wanna find the most succinct way to say this. But growing up, I went to Tri Cities High School. I knew I wanted to go to Tri Cities High School from third grade. I just knew like this is where the artists are. This is where people who sing, dance, and act and look like me are, and that's where I want to be. But people would come back to talk to us, and they were starving artists. Like they were trying to make it happen. But you could tell that they were all like struggling. And there were some success stories in there. Kenan Thompson went to Tri-Cities. Saquon Simba went to Tri-Cities. Like, and each person would kind of find their moment and, you know, end up in a Broadway cast or end up on a TV show. But like in those kind of first 5 years or so out of high school, you would see people like struggling. And I never wanted to be a starving artist. It was something that I would always put in front of my mind. Like, I don't want to be a starving artist. I won't be a starving artist. But then things started coming into my life where I would go and teach a workshop for free, or I would do a performance for free. And I would go into those things knowing that there was no physical payment attached to it, but I would always walk out of those things enriched, enlightened, educated, uplifted in some way that I could have never anticipated. And so what I started seeing was, and then once I discovered my purpose and was able to verbalize it, I could then look at my past experiences and my future experiences through the lens of my purpose, and not always look at like, well, what are the dollar signs attached to this? Because there have been times where I planted seeds that didn't bear fruit until years later. And when they bared fruit, it was like, whoa, wait, you heard about me from what? Like what? Or, you know what I mean? There have been moments I will never forget. I worked with August Alsina. I started working with August Alsina when he was 18. We did a couple of sessions, and then I brought dancers into one of our artist development sessions just so he could like interact with other people on stage. His management at the time was like, yo, nah, that ain't what we trying to make him be. Like, he's supposed to be like a nigga from the streets that sing, like not with dancers and everything. And then they stopped working with me. They pulled me off the project, and I saw other people, my contemporaries, like working with him and everything. And I felt a way, and I was like, yo, like I felt like he and I were cool, and we saw eye to eye. He had lost his older brother. I had lost my younger brother. And we kind of had, I'm older than him, so we had this kind of synergy. And I will never forget me getting a call. There were two calls. One call was after I had moved to LA, and I was like, I'm going to LA. Iggy's about to go on like a major tour. I'm going to LA. Boom, 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 boom. Moved to LA, February. I'm sitting at one church waiting for midweek service to start, and I get a call from his manager, the same manager who had fired me. And he was like, hey, August is about to go back on go back out on tour. He had opened for Usher, and he doesn't like the choreography. And he doesn't like the choreographers that we stuck him with, but we didn't have time to change it for that tour. And so he basically was like, yo, if y'all want me to go back out on the road, you need to call Victor. And they were like, where are you? And I was like, I'm in LA right now. And they were like, well, can you get on a plane and come to Atlanta tomorrow? And I came to Atlanta. I revamped his whole show. And we went to Syracuse University for a performance. And then as I was flying back to LA, that's when God told me, hey, you know, your 7 years is about to be up. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I moved to LA. I'm working with Iggy Azalea. Fancy was just the #1 song of the summer. August Alsina, I just worked with him again. Like, you know, choreography, I'm back in this thing. I'm here. And he was like, nah, but you said you would start working on music again. And this was 2015. He said, you said you would start working on music again in 7 years, and you're about to turn 30, so it's time for you to start working on music again. And I was like, I don't even have no songs. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, boom, 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 boom. He's like, open your computer. Open my computer, went to iTunes, and saw Bus of Love. I've been looking for that song for years. I've been looking for Bus of Love for years, and actively like been searching through my emails, asking the producer if he could find it, like all those things. Couldn't find it. On that flight back from Syracuse to LA after working with August Alsina, I was like, look, boom, that's the song. I listened to it and I was like, wow. So yeah, okay, that is the song. And some years later, 20, I think it was, let's say it was 2017. Yeah, it was 2017. August was doing the BET Awards. This was his first time performing after like he had been in a hospital for a long time and everything. This was like his performance coming back. His manager a new manager now called me and was like, hey, we were trying to get him to work with these other choreographers. And he was like, if Victor doesn't do it, I'm not doing it. And he was like, and they were like, can you get on the plane tomorrow? And I choreographed, he did a pre-show for the BET Awards. I choreographed it in 2 days. And 2 weeks later, they asked me to come back to LA because he was going on tour. And at that moment, I was preparing to release Layover. And I was not sure how I would release it. I didn't really have any additional money to like shoot a video and get a record mixed and mastered and all those things. And then this opportunity dropped out of the sky, and I ended up coming back to Atlanta. Not only that, I also booked a TV show right before I went out to LA. And the show happened to be shooting 2 days, the day before I left to go to LA and the day I came back from working on his tour.
Wow.
And so it was a moment where I saw everything come together. And it's what I keep seeing. I keep seeing it happen like that. And so, I can't detach from the purpose and from like the schedule of things, because for some reason, they all end up happening. But yeah, I didn't want to be a starving artist. And I thought not being a starving artist was the reason why I looked at things through the lens of, you know, like, I gotta make the money. But when I detached myself from that and I started looking at things through the lens of purpose, not only was I in places that I was supposed to be, but also the profit came from me just being there. So yeah, purpose over profit. It is something, it's a guiding principle for me because it has continued to show up in my life over and over again.
And we really can apply that to just our journey, and just talking about career-wise. There's some times where we wonder why we didn't get that job. I know I was qualified. I know my resume speaks. I know that I'm competitive, but sometimes those doors are closed because that's not the door you're supposed to go into. That's not going to aid you into getting to your vision and what God has for your life. And I feel that when you're moving in the right direction, things will happen divinely. And,
for sure.
You know, I've gotten to a point even in my career where, and sometimes, you know, in the beginning stages, you know, you're a little bit confused and you don't really know what direction you want to go in, but it gets to a point where you don't have to do things that aren't aligning with what you want to do or what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing that you caught that early on. And I just feel that, you know, we can apply that to everything in life.
Yeah. And I mean, if you use purpose I will say this, if you don't know what your purpose is, then everything will look like a failure. If you don't know what your purpose is, every no will look like a failure. Every postponement, cancellation, every every failed attempt will look like a failure. But if you know what your purpose is, then you can always put that situation up against your purpose and say, oh, well, my purpose is X, Y, and Z, and this thing doesn't connect with X, Y, or Z. So yeah, and so I see a lot of frustration in a lot of people simply because they haven't identified what their purpose is.
Yeah.
And so once you identify, everything else falls into place.
Yeah.
So yeah.